Picture this. You just walk through the front door. Before you can even drop your keys, your dog is there, tail wagging, body vibrating, and the second you lean down, they are relentlessly licking your face. You laugh. You pull away. Most people assume they are just giving you kisses, that they simply missed you. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. What is actually happening in that wet, chaotic moment is a profound biological transaction. It is an ancient survival mechanism. It is genetic code overriding modern boundaries. And it involves a neurochemical feedback loop that is so powerful, it permanently altered the trajectory of human evolution. Today, we are breaking down exactly why your dog licks your face, and why everything you thought you knew about this behavior is wrong.
Let's start by destroying the most toxic myth in dog psychology, the alpha theory. For decades, outdated trainers told us that if a dog licks your face, they are trying to assert dominance. They are claiming you. This is completely false. Modern behavioral ecology thoroughly refutes this. Dr. L. David Meek's seminal research on wild wolf packs proved that canid families are not rigid fighting hierarchies. Face licking is the exact opposite of dominance. Ethologists classify it as active submission, or appeasement. When a subordinate or younger canid licks the muzzle of an older, confident member, they are diffusing tension. They are soliciting resources. They are literally begging for harmonious integration into the pack. It is a biological gesture of profound deference, never domination.
So, if it's not dominance, they must just be giving us human-style kisses, right? Wrong again. This is a classic anthropomorphism. We project our psychological frameworks onto them. But dogs do not have a pre-programmed concept of human romance. When your dog licks your face, they are driven by operant conditioning and chemosensory exploration. Human skin secretes sweat and sebum. This contains salts, specifically sodium chloride, and fatty acids that dogs find highly palatable. When they lick you, they get a massive sensory reward through their vomeronasal organ. And what happens next? You pet them, you laugh, you talk to them, you give them attention. The dog immediately learns a mathematical equation. Facial lick equals immediate resource allocation. They are harvesting data and farming your attention.
Before we dive into the brain scans, we need to shatter one more persistent illusion: the clean mouth myth. You've heard it 1,000 times. A dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's. This is dangerously untrue. A dog's oral microbiome is entirely distinct from ours. It harbors significant zoonotic pathogens. Their saliva contains bacteria like Capnocytophaga canamorsis. While perfectly harmless to the dog, these flora can be dangerously opportunistic. If they enter your mucous membranes, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, or microscopic abrasions on your skin, they can cause serious infections. It is never a sterile exchange. But despite the bacterial risk, humans and dogs have continued to do this for thousands of years. Why? Because the brain chemistry is simply too addictive to stop. When that rough tongue hits your skin, a complex cascade of autonomic nervous system shifts occurs in both species. A landmark 2015 study published in the journal Science by researchers at Azabu University proved this. They placed dogs and humans in a room and tracked all affiliative behaviors, including face licking. Then they measured their urine for oxytocin. The results were staggering. Dogs that engaged in high levels of physical contact and gazing experienced a 130% increase in endogenous oxytocin. But the humans experienced a massive 300% spike. This proved the existence of a cross-species neurochemical feedback loop.
Physical proximity and tactile behaviors like licking chemically simulate the mammalian maternal bonding pathway. You aren't just a friend. To their brain, you are family.
But does the oxytocin cause the licking, or does the licking cause the oxytocin? A 2014 double-blind, placebo-controlled study out of the University of Tokyo answered this. Researchers administered exogenous oxytocin to dogs via a nasal spray. They then tracked their social interactions. The dogs given oxytocin demonstrated a statistically significant increase in the duration of affiliative behaviors toward their owners. They relentlessly initiated licking and physical contact. This confirmed a breathtaking reality. The oxytocin doesn't just result from the lick. It actively drives the biological urge to initiate the behavior. Their brain is flooded with the bonding hormone, and the only way they know how to process that overwhelming chemical wave is to physically connect with your skin. The chemical magic doesn't stop at oxytocin. The tactile loop of face licking literally alters heart rates. A 2011 study conducted at the University of Skövde in Sweden measured cortisol, the primary stress hormone, during brief sessions of petting and licking. Within minutes, serum cortisol levels plummeted in both the humans and the dogs. Furthermore, the dogs displayed a measurable deceleration in heart rate. They experienced an autonomic shift from sympathetic dominance, the fight-or-flight state, straight into parasympathetic dominance, rest and digest. When your dog licks your face after a long, stressful day, they are actively downregulating your nervous system, and their own. It is a synchronized, mutual sedation, a biological reset button pressed by a wet tongue. To truly understand the reward center of this behavior, we have to look inside the dog's brain. In 2015, researchers at Emory University's Center for Neuropolicy trained dogs to remain perfectly still inside an active fMRI scanner. They presented the dogs with olfactory swabs from familiar owners, strangers, and other dogs. Scent processing of the familiar owner triggered maximum activation in the caudate nucleus. This is the brain's primary dopamine processing center. Because a dog utilizes the Jacobson's organ to simultaneously smell and taste via licking, this study proved something beautiful. Licking your face provides a powerful, measurable dopamine spike equivalent to finding a primary biological reward. Like a massive steak. To your dog's brain, tasting your face is the ultimate jackpot. But where did this deeply ingrained behavior originate? Facial licking is not an invention of the modern domestic dog. It is deeply hardwired into canid DNA, tracing back tens of thousands of years. We must look to their ancestral progenitor, the wild wolf. In wild wolf packs, facial licking serves a strictly survivalist function. Wolf pups lack the dentition to process raw meat. When adult wolves return from a hunt, the pups swarm them. They frantically lick the adult's lips, muzzle, and the commissures of the mouth. This frantic tactile stimulation triggers a gag reflex in the adult, causing them to regurgitate partially digested meat. Over thousands of years of evolution, this juvenile food solicitation behavior morphed. It became a generalized gesture of greeting, submission, and social bonding. The leap from wolf to wolf licking to dog to human licking is a story of shared Paleolithic survival. Look no further than the Bonn Oberkassel dog. Discovered in Germany by archaeologists, these remains are dated over 14,000 years old. Excavations revealed a young dog buried alongside two humans. Paleopathological analysis showed the dog suffered from and survived the devastating canine distemper virus. Surviving this virus required intense, sustained human care. Cleaning the dog's eyes and muzzle, providing regurgitated or pre-chewed food. This archaeological site highlights the exact era when cross-species grooming and tactile bonding became essential. Humans kept dogs alive. Dogs kept humans safe. And the facial lick became the physical bridge between two entirely different species. So why do modern domestic dogs continue to exhibit this juvenile, pup-like licking behavior into old age? Wild wolves outgrow it. Dogs never do. The answer lies in their genetics. In 2017, evolutionary biologist Dr. Bridget von Holt at Princeton University mapped the canine genome. She identified structural variants on canine chromosome 6, specifically involving the genes GTF2I and GTF2IRD1. In humans, deletions in these exact same genes cause Williams-Buren syndrome, a condition characterized by extreme, indiscriminate hypersociability and outgoing personalities. Domestic dogs possess transposon insertions, mutations, in these exact genes. Wolves lack them entirely. This genetic mutation essentially locked dogs into a permanent state of neoteny. Neoteny is the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. This single genetic mutation explains the biological paradox of the domestic dog. It is why a 10-year-old golden retriever will still greedily lick its owner's face, displaying the exact same frantic affection as a 6-week-old wolf pup licking its mother's muzzle. They are genetically wired for extreme sociability. Their DNA demands connection. They physically cannot help but love you, and they cannot help but show it through this ancient, tactile behavior. It is not just a learned trick. It is a permanent genetic modification that forever tethered their species to ours. But because this behavior is so deeply embedded, its absence becomes a glaring warning sign. This brings us to a vital, non-negotiable veterinary truth. Because facial licking is neurologically rewarding, genetically hardwired, and deeply embedded, a change in this behavior is a massive red flag. If a dog that historically greets you with frantic face licking abruptly stops, pay attention. It is rarely a behavioral choice. It is almost always a sign of underlying pathology. One of the most heartbreaking causes is canine cognitive dysfunction, or CCD, dog dementia. Caused by the accumulation of beta amyloid plaques in the brain, CCD ravages memory. A dog suddenly stopping affiliative behaviors or failing to engage in greeting rituals is a primary diagnostic marker. They may simply no longer recognize the operant loop, or, tragically, they may no longer recognize you. But the issue isn't always cognitive. Often, it is silent, excruciating pain. Think about the physical mechanics of licking a human's face. It requires a dog to lift its head, extend its neck, and bear significant weight on its forelimbs. If a dog stops reaching up to lick you, veterinarians must immediately evaluate the patient for musculoskeletal trauma. Cervical intervertebral disc disease, or IVDD, is a common culprit. Degeneration of the cervical spine, or early-onset osteoarthritis, makes the simple physical act of reaching up highly painful. They still want the dopamine hit, they still want the oxytocin loop, but the mechanical pain overrides the chemical desire. Never ignore a dog that suddenly keeps its head low during a greeting. There are other silent thieves of this affiliative behavior. If a dog ceases licking, they may be intensely guarding their mouth. Advanced periodontal disease, stomatitis, which is severe inflammation of the oral mucosa, fractured teeth, or hidden, aggressive oral melanomas. These conditions make the mechanical movement of the tongue and jaw absolute agony. Furthermore, aging dogs can suffer from chemosensory decline. age-related anosmia or ageusia, the loss of smell and taste. If they lose their olfactory acuity, the dopamine reward processed by the caudate nucleus is no longer triggered. The behavior extinguishes because the biological reward of tasting and smelling their owner is permanently gone. If the kisses stop, call your vet immediately. When your dog licks your face, they are not trying to dominate you. They are not giving you a human kiss. They are executing a profound 14,000-year-old survival protocol. They are reading your chemical data. They are lowering your cortisol. They are triggering a massive release of oxytocin in both of your brains. It is a masterpiece of evolutionary biology hardwired into their mutated chromosome 6. So, what is the strangest greeting your dog has ever given you? Tell me down in the comments. And hit subscribe, because in the next video, we are breaking down exactly why your dog insists on staring at you while they go to the bathroom. The science behind it is even stranger than you'd expect.